Hi everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp. I hope you've had a lovely week and a decent weekend. Hopefully I found some nice sales for us this week, including a few physical pickups. Save 10% on any of these games using code SwitchUp over at switchup.gg to buy your eShop credit if you're in the EU or the US regions, and do let me know what you've been playing down in the comments as we give away a free game each and every week. There's quite a few I'd class as hidden gems as well as new releases in this video. Hopefully you've got a nice hot cup of cha, you're forgetting your backlog, getting your bunts ready, or even if you're just planning to tickle the wishlist button a bit. Well, what are the best games on sale? Let's find out. Cheers to that fella in the comments last week who reminded me that I haven't been putting the sale regions at the bottom of the screen, so that's there now. It says sale region, and for Let's Build a Zoo, it's EU and AU. It's currently 15% off until October the 21st, and it's a lovely little simulation game. It was developed by Spring Loaded and published by No More Robots, and comes into a very small little package of 714 megs. There are 500 different animals that you can spend your money on as you build up your zoo, but interestingly, you can actually crossbreed, and there are over 300,000 different combinations that you can create. I personally would cross a swan and a kangaroo and make a swangaroo. A swangaroo. I like it. Man, I need to see what that would look like. You have to hire different employees. You can control every aspect of the park management, but it's all done in this really cutesy art style. That then takes us on to a physical pickup. It's Triangle Strategy. In the US regions, this is actually on the eShop, so you've got the standard Nintendo 30% discount, which takes it down to $41.99. But if you're in Europe, Amazon have actually got this at half price, down to $29.99. In the UK, we've also got it slightly cheaper on Amazon at £36, and it's probably one of my favourite games that I've played in the last year. The storytelling is exceptionally good. I know Square Enix are masters of story, but this is genuinely worth playing through multiple times. You can go down different avenues, and it follows the story of House Wolfort with this interesting system called the Scales of Conviction that essentially have you speak to your advisors, weigh up what they say, and then try and convince them to take the course of action that you want. You can influence that as well, as there are small little adventure segments where you go around the town and you gather information and clues, and this then unlocks different branches of dialogue to try and be a little bit more persuasive. This one has just come out. It's called Trifox, and I reviewed it the other day. It has a 10% discount sale in all regions, taking it down to £16.19, and it's absolutely worth that money. It follows on from games like Ratchet and Clank, and it's brilliant. There's essentially like a fluid class system that's split between a warrior, a mage, and an engineer. But any game that employs turrets, so as the engineer you can build these little turrets and place those down to fight for you. Any game that does that, I just love it. And it's done really well here. The levels are designed well, the music's on point, performance is okay. There are a few places where it needs a bit of love, but it's not bad. It's not what I would class as bad, and I'd say it looks quite nice. Yeah, had a good time with this. I think it scored 83%, and it was surprising. There was some surprisingly good design in it. Particular mention to the Indiana Jones style cart with a railgun on the front. It was absolutely awesome. That sale goes on until October the 27th. Glen and I played through the House of the Dead remake for a nice little co-op session on our Friday evening pizza nights, and it had a few issues at launch. There was a real issue with the gyro aiming. It was all over the place. They worked on it, and specifically in the most recent patch mentioned that one of the targets of their work was on the gyro, and it is better than it was. If you remember the old House of the Dead game, the remake follows very similar in terms of its overall styling, and is really good fun, even more so if you've got two of you. Now what I really do miss on the Switch is a light gun. I wish they had an official light gun. I know there aren't loads of games for it, but there's a few. You got like things like Wild Guns Reloaded, the House of the Dead remake, and it's a genre that I think is, I don't know, underrepresented, I guess. It's just 3.1 gigs. It's £15. There is a physical of this one as well if you're interested in that, and this sale goes on until November the 2nd. Onto a real hidden gem then. I first heard about this one, I think it was on Nintendo Life. but it's a game called Glyph, which at the moment is 90% off, which takes it down to the ludicrous price of £1.79, about half the cost of some cheesy chips, which by the way are far, far superior to non-cheesy chips, and should come as standard if you ask me, which you don't. Not only does this have lovely music and this nice simplistic art style, but there are tons of levels to work through and the actual design is incredibly good, putting some larger titles to shame. There are, I think, 80 levels plus, loads of different secrets to find, and it's a very good loading game, so if you're not sure what that is, a nice little game that you pick up and you play it instantly to help you decide what you want to play. Glyph is a really good example of that. 2.3 gigs is a little larger than, you know, some of these titles, but stupidly cheap, and definitely one to add to your collection. Farm Tycoon has become a real time sink on my Nintendo Switch, and it's currently just £4.24 in the EU and Australian regions, which is a 75% discount ending on October the 30th. If you like simulation strategy games, they actually built their own engine for this. It's published and developed by Sonka, and it has what's known as a 2XD rendering graphics engine. And it looks beautiful. I think this art style could be amazing in like a, I don't know, a simplified Command and Conquer style game. But here it works really well. You can choose your different machinery, build up the farm in the direction that you want, and it has full campaigns, different scenarios. There's also a free play mode so you can just chill and farm. Chill and farm. Oh man, but it didn't get nearly enough love in my opinion. These games never do. I know they're quite niche. It's lovely, so enjoyable, and there's tons of gameplay for that price. Might even be my pick of the week, this one. Well worth it. Now, I just heard from the developers that the sequel to Jenny LeClue is in the works, but if you like things like Monkey Island, old school point and click adventures, this is a great example. It's called Jenny LeClue Detective-oo, and everything from the art style to the storyline, they just nail it. I'd absolutely love to see a bit of a renaissance for some of these adventure games, with that recent Monkey Island just smashing it in all reviewers. Like, everyone that reviewed that Monkey Island has loved it, and it seems that most fans who were expecting to, you know what fans are like, they're always looking for problems, and I think the only problem that they really found with that Monkey Island was the art style. But I'd love to see kind of a renaissance of adventure games just across the board, and certainly if that's going to happen, then things like Jenny LeClue will be right up there with the best of them. It's a 1.6GB download and it's reasonably long as well. It took me about 8 or 9 hours to finish. Yeah, really enjoyed this one. Put a big smile on your face. We've got Metroid Dread. Some of you might have seen, there was a guy on Twitter and he was basically complaining about how badly Metroid Dread had done. And I think it was OJ, Player Essence, who was like, this is the best selling Metroid Dread game ever. Like, what are you on about? There was some rebuttal from the fella, but I think he got buried there in that one sentence. I do think with a 3D version with Metroid 4, we will see some incredible sales numbers. Regardless of, you know, what you can say about a name, the brand Metroid, I think the fact that this is 2D and it's still sold the best is a testament. And I know we shouldn't judge things by their art style, but human beings do. And as soon as we have that like high graphical fidelity, in air quotes, 3D version of Metroid, I think that thing's gonna sell like the hottest of cakes. But Metroid Dread is one that Glen loved. He reviewed this one for us on the channel. And if you are in the US or American regions, then it's worth it at that 30% discount. Now from the US side, we jump over to the EU and Australian side, and with a game that I had as my hidden gem about a month ago. And I heard a load of you picked it up because I had loads of comments on Twitter from people saying, I'm loving it, it's amazing. And it's a point and click adventure called Lacuna, and it throws in the old Telltale Games style of moral questions. So things that they operate fully in the grey area. You might have your legal obligation, but then you'll have your moral obligation, and it's what you choose to do in those situations. Those are always the meaty ones that I enjoy. And it's funny because when Glen plays games, he's the most legalistic person. You know, he won't break the law. You know, he follows things to the T. I very much follow, I guess, my heart, my gut, and I go sometimes with things that are a little bit more chaotic. I'm definitely the chaotic good one of the two of us. And this game gave me a few opportunities to flex my chaotic good muscles. And if you know what chaotic good is, welcome. You are a fellow. And if you don't, Google.
Things would get this messed up. but maybe.
Now my hidden gem of the week is one that I reviewed many moons ago, and when I first booted it up thought this is going to be terrible, but then I realised that the whole game is centred around a stolen cat, and I have to say I do enjoy cats. I've got a couple of rescue ones that we've kind of just adopted, and I like them because they're super chill. Well, kind of. They just do their own thing, and Super Crush KO is nothing to do with cats, apart from that story narrative there. What it is, it's like if you took the gated combat sections of something like Guacamelee and then turned that into a full stage so they're back to back. But it's really good, very fast and fluid combat. You feel super powerful, there's loads of explosions going off all over the place, and it's just so much better than I thought it was going to be. But at 451 megabytes, £3.49, which it has to be said is more than the price of a Savoy but less than the price of chips and a Savoy, but you could probably get a pork pie for that, so you know. For someone that's here for the first time, it might seem unusual to compare all prices to foodstuffs, but it's always Sunday afternoon and I'm hungry. And you know, that's what happens really. So this one, 75% off until October the 20th. You haven't got a great deal of time, but it's well worth it, and it is my hidden gem pick of the week. Then we have a few highlights from last week's sale, including This War of Mine, 95% off, Bravely Default 2, 50% off. That's in the EU and Australian regions. Pumpkin Jack, 60% off. Again, sorry, EU only. Toe Jam and Earl, which is available in all regions, 90% off. The Takeover, an amazing beat 'em up, all regions, and there is a limited run physical. Blackguards 2, a really interesting tactical turn-based game that's flown under a load of radars, but again, EU and Australian regions. Outbuddies DX, that's in the EU as well. Titan Quest, which does have a few bugs and things, but if you've only got the Switch to play it on, I still think it's worth it. That's on sale in all regions, 70% off. And then finally, West of Loathing, which is an incredible turn-based, it's a JRPG in many ways. It's an RPG, I guess. 50% off, very funny indeed, and an unusual art style. Now, I do not have a game you should avoid because I've been playing it this week. I can't tell you exactly what I've been playing, but they are embargoed and they are also under non-disclosure agreements. But we should have some very tasty reviews for you coming up, and I hope you'll be with us next week on the channel. Have a lovely evening, chill out a bit, have a nice bevy, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks to all of our Patreons and to our 5 members. We've got 5 members now, they're rocking it and enjoying their custom emoji. And as always, do save yourself 10% on any of these games using code SwitchUp over at switchup.gg. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch Up. Cheers guys, see ya!